Rudy Gobert calling out his Timberwolves teammates, and the reaction that followed has set tongues wagging across the internet. The timeline of events in Minnesota, from locker room tension to on-court confrontation, is one of the most layered team chemistry stories in the NBA right now, and we are going to break down every single piece of it. So let's get into Rudy Gobert, his teammates, and the events that led to one of the most talked about locker room situations in the league this season. Rudy Gobert opened his mouth, and the Timberwolves locker room has not been the same since. On February 7, 2026, after the Timberwolves lost 119-115 at home to the New Orleans Pelicans, Gobert called out his team's lack of effort. The Timberwolves had led that game by as many as 18 points early in the third quarter, but saw that lead disappear midway through the fourth quarter, en route to a loss to the 14th place Pelicans. This was not a subtle behind-closed-doors conversation. This was Gobert standing in front of reporters and media members after the game and saying what he said. At some point, if the players don't have accountability, someone has to have accountability for the players, Gobert told reporters. I'm on straight effort. I'm just talking straight effort. I'm not even getting to the basketball side of things, like mistakes are a part of the game, but the effort to me for a team that wants to play for a championship, it's unacceptable. Now, Gobert did not name names. He did not point a finger at any one person directly, but everyone paying attention knew exactly who he was referring to. While the team's other stars, Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle, scored a combined 59 points that night, they didn't appear locked in on the defensive end of the floor, according to John Krasinski of The Athletic. As Krasinski himself later said on K-Fan Radio, we don't have to beat around the bush. I mean, Rudy Gobert did not name names, but he clearly was pointing at Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards to give more consistent effort on the defensive end. Gobert did not stop at the players. He went after the coaching staff too. He said it was the coach's job to hold people accountable if the players would not do it themselves. It should start with ourselves, but it seems like we don't have that. So I think at some point it has to come from the coaches. It's not an easy position for a coach to take guys out of the game. It's not something that you want to do, but I think if the players don't show any effort, at some point, no matter how talented we are as a team, if you don't have that, you just can't be a winning team. Gobert also said, "It starts with me. If I'm not showing effort, bench me." He included himself. He was not positioning himself above the team. He was saying that if anyone, including him, is not bringing the effort, they should be removed from the game. We want to be a championship team. We want to lift that trophy in June. This is a lesson that we need to get right now. It starts at the top. Now, the context here is that Gobert didn't give himself a free pass after Pelicans forward Zion Williamson powered for 29 points, mostly near the rim. That is a bad look for a four-time Defensive Player of the Year. Gobert knew it. He was willing to own his part, but he was also fed up with watching his teammates go through the motions on the defensive end, while he tried to hold things together in the paint. Inconsistent defensive effort has been a theme of the Timberwolves this season. It's part of who they are, dating back multiple years. And for a team that went to back-to-back Western Conference Finals, as Gobert himself pointed out, the regression was not about talent. It was about effort. These games matter, Gobert said. These games impact the way we're going to finish the season, who we're going to face, if we're going to make the playoffs, and this is who we are as a team. We have to start understanding that. The barometer for our success is our defense, effort, and when we have that, we win almost every night. The man laid it all out, and the reaction from inside the building was immediate. When Rudy Gobert finished talking to reporters that night after the Pelicans' loss, the words traveled fast. And when they reached head coach Chris Finch, the response was not warm. In fact, Finch made it clear, on the record, that he was not happy with Gobert's decision to take the conversation public. "I handle all my conversations with ourselves in-house," Finch said. Disappointing Gobert felt the need to go outside. Nonetheless, that's been addressed already today. That was Finch on Saturday, the day after the Pelicans' loss. He acknowledged that the issue had been discussed internally, but the fact that he used the word disappointing to describe Gobert's media comments told you everything about where his head was at. Finch was not backing up Gobert publicly. He was pushing back. Finch also pushed back on the idea that benching players was the answer. He remarked, "There's never been a team that's won anything meaningful that substituted their way there." That was a direct counter to Gobert's public call for the coaching staff to start pulling players who were not giving effort. Finch was saying, and in his own way, that he was going to handle this his way, not the way Gobert wanted him to handle it. And when reporters went to Gobert's teammates the next day for their reaction, the responses were telling. Timberwolves forward Jaden McDaniels was asked about Gobert's comments on Saturday and chose to be tight-lipped. "I don't know nothing about it," McDaniels said with a smile. "I don't even want to talk about it for real. I just try to do my job and try to do my job to the best of my ability. McDaniels, who is one of the team's best defenders, was not the target. McDaniels isn't someone who can ever be accused of not giving effort on the defensive end, so his deflection made sense. But the fact that he was smiling and refusing to engage with the question said something about the temperature of the room. The real concern was what was happening between Gobert and the players he was indirectly calling out, Edwards and Randle. It really starts with Edwards and Julius Randle, the Wolves' two leading scorers. The "no matter if you score 50" line from Gobert hints at that. They're not alone, but Edwards and Randle seem to be the most frequent culprits. Too often, they lose their assignment on a backdoor cut or leave too much space for an open three. And if you wanted evidence that Gobert's public comments created a real divide, you did not have to wait long. You'd have liked to see a strong response from the Timberwolves after all that Gobert had to say, but there wasn't one. The Los Angeles Clippers blew them out 115-96 at the Target Center on Sunday. That Clippers loss was a disaster. The Clippers went 39-76 from the field, shooting 51.3% and 14-27 from beyond the arc, shooting 51.9% on the night. This was by no means an aberration, as the Timberwolves had allowed their opponents to shoot 51.3% from the field over their last 5 games. Rather than rally together after Gobert's comments, the Timberwolves seemed to sink further. John Krasinski went on KFan radio and laid out what he was seeing behind the scenes. He said, "You just look around and you feel it in the locker room. There's a disconnect right now." That word, disconnect, carried weight. Krasinski came out realizing that indeed, there is some sort of disconnect going on within the Wolves locker room, and told KFan listeners that he wouldn't feel right reporting it any other way. This was not rumors. This was an established Timberwolves reporter, saying that the fractures were real, that the tension between Gobert's public comments and the coaching staff's response had created a genuine problem. Krasinski believed that the schism creeping into the Wolves locker room could be fixed. He said, "I think it absolutely can be fixed. I think that a little time away from each other over the All-Star break might be exactly what the doctor ordered. But I can't say that nothing is wrong, because that would be just completely ignoring all of the signs that we are seeing right now with this team." So the picture was forming. Gobert called out the team publicly. The coach pushed back. The players either went quiet or did not respond with better play. And the reporters who cover the team every day were seeing the cracks forming in real time. This was the environment inside the Minnesota Timberwolves locker room heading into the second half of the season. Now, here is where the story takes on an extra layer, because this is not the first time Rudy Gobert has been at the center of a locker room confrontation with the Timberwolves. Not even close. Go back to April 9th, 2023, the regular season finale. The Timberwolves were playing the New Orleans Pelicans, and the game had playoff seeding implications. Timberwolves center Rudy Gobert was sent home by the team after throwing a punch at teammate Kyle Anderson during a timeout in the second quarter of their vital 113-108 win over the Pelicans. That is not a typo. Gobert, the same Gobert who 3 years later would go to the media and call out his teammates for lack of effort, literally threw a punch at one of his own teammates during a live game. The sequence of events was reported in detail. A heated discussion during a second quarter timeout ended with Gobert throwing a punch toward Anderson. Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN reported that the conflict started over a discussion where Anderson told Gobert to block some shots, and Gobert told Anderson to rebound before getting more intense from there. Then it went from verbal to physical. Anderson told Gobert to "shut up, bitch," and Gobert punched Anderson in the chest after that, with teammates quickly pushing Gobert away and separating the two. Gobert was quickly pushed back by Taurean Prince, who was the first to react, and the rest of the team and coaching staff then separated the two players before anything else could happen. Gobert was escorted back to the locker room while the game continued, then eventually told to go home for the day. But the story did not end there. The tension between Gobert and Anderson spilled over to the halftime locker room as well, with the two having a heated verbal exchange. Multiple sources with direct knowledge of the events told The Athletic. The altercation between Anderson and Gobert didn't end on the bench. When the team came back to the locker room at halftime, Anderson reportedly said to Gobert, "I'll knock your A out." Timberwolves veteran Mike Conley Jr. served as a vital factor in calming down the halftime locker room. Conley, who had been Gobert's teammate with the Utah Jazz before joining Minnesota, stepped in and helped de-escalate the situation before anything else could happen. After the game, Conley revealed that Gobert had apologized for the altercation in a group chat, and then Gobert took it public as well. He posted an apology on Twitter. "Emotions got the best of me today," Gobert said. "I should not have reacted the way I did, regardless of what was said. I want to apologize to the fans, the organization, and particularly to Kyle, who is someone that I truly love and respect as a teammate." The Timberwolves organization responded with their own statement. "We made the decision to send Rudy Gobert home after the incident in the second quarter," Timberwolves president Tim Connolly said. "His behavior on the bench was unacceptable, and we will handle the situation internally." And then came the punishment. Minnesota announced that Gobert had been suspended for 1 game following the physical altercation. Gobert would serve his suspension on Tuesday, when the Timberwolves took on the Los Angeles Lakers in the play-in tournament. That was not all. On the same day as the Gobert-Anderson punch, ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski reported that forward Jaden McDaniels fractured his hand when punching a wall. As he was headed back to the halftime locker room, the entire team was falling apart at the seams during the most important stretch of the season. What made the Gobert-Anderson story even more complicated was the timing. Just 1 day before the punch, Chris Hine of the Star Tribune had spoken to Gobert about Anderson's leadership style. And what Gobert said was the exact opposite of what his actions would show. "Kyle wants to win, and sometimes he's a little aggressive in the way he talks. But I don't take it personally," Gobert said. "I receive it in a positive way, because it comes from a place of wanting me to be the best Rudy I can be, and wanting us to win." 24 hours later, Gobert punched the man he claimed to receive feedback from in a positive way. That is the irony. That is the contrast. And that is the pattern that people point to when they look at Gobert's relationship with his teammates. Fast forward to March 2026, and Rudy Gobert is back at it. This time, the target was different, but the method was the same. He went public with his frustrations. Veteran wingman Kyle Anderson just returned to Minnesota after brief stints with multiple different teams. The Timberwolves reunited with Anderson after he was bought out of his contract by the Grizzlies. Anderson reportedly had interest from multiple teams, but he chose to come back to a franchise he knows well from a previous 2-year stint in Minnesota from 2022 to 2024. On March 3, 2026, during Tuesday's shoot-around, Gobert was asked about what he missed the most about Anderson, and his answer sent the NBA internet into a frenzy. "I think just passing the ball," said Gobert. "I'll be honest, I'll be straight up. Yeah, someone who is looking to pass the ball to his teammates. Simple, right? But yeah, he's a connector, someone who makes plays for his teammates." Read that again. When asked what he missed most about Kyle Anderson, Gobert's answer was passing, as in passing the ball, as in something his current teammates are apparently not doing enough of. It was Gobert's not-so-subtle way of calling his teammates selfish, and the numbers support his perspective. Fans interpreted Gobert's comment as a shot at Edwards, who is an elite scorer but is not known for his passing. Through 51 games, the 4-time NBA All-Star is averaging a career-best 29.5 points, on 49.3% shooting, including 39.8% from three-point range. However, his assist average of 3.7 would be the lowest since his rookie season in 2020-21. So while Edwards has been putting up historic scoring numbers, averaging a career-best 29.7 points per game, his passing numbers have gone in the other direction. And Gobert, who operates as a rim runner and screen setter who depends on teammates finding him near the basket, has been feeling the impact of that directly. This was the second time in less than a month that Gobert went public with his frustrations. In February, it was about effort and defense. In March, it was about ball movement and passing. The common thread was the same. Gobert felt like his teammates were not playing the right way, and he was not going to keep it in-house. Now, Gobert did not leave Anderson out of the conversation. He praised him extensively. "He's a big part of what we do," Gobert said. "He's going to help us on and off the court. I think he's a smart player. He's a tough player, he's an unselfish player, and also he's someone who is a winner." He also made a broader point about Anderson and Mike Conley, another veteran who had recently re-signed with Minnesota. "It feels good getting Mike and Kyle trying to win a championship. And having those guys, I think they're part of our culture. They're part of our DNA, so they deserve to be a part of it." Now here is the irony of the whole situation. A year after inciting a mid-game punch from Gobert, Anderson and the big man became as close as any two players on the team. The same Kyle Anderson that Gobert punched in the chest during a timeout in 2023 became one of Gobert's closest friends in 2024. Gobert, with whom Anderson had a public in-game spat in the regular season finale of the 2022-23 campaign, became a close friend and dinner buddy the following year, and now Anderson was back. After news broke of Kyle Anderson's impending return to the Timberwolves, teammates got on the horn. Rudy Gobert, Mike Conley, and Anthony Edwards were all on the phone. The center of the conversation, it was time to finish what they started. Anderson might be able to help by calling out teammates who aren't playing hard enough. He overlapped with 5 current Wolves, Gobert, Anthony Edwards, Mike Conley, Jaden McDaniels, and Naz Reid, when he was last in Minnesota. So his voice should still carry weight within the organization. But make no mistake, Gobert's comment about passing was not just about welcoming Anderson back. It was about sending a message to his current teammates, and the basketball world heard it. So here we are. Rudy Gobert has called out his teammates twice in less than a month, first for effort, then for passing. He has a history of punching a teammate during a live game. And the Timberwolves locker room, by all credible accounts, has had a disconnect that reporters who cover the team daily have documented. But did his teammates actually jump him in the locker room? Let us be clear about what the evidence shows. The 2023 incident with Kyle Anderson involved Gobert throwing the first punch, not his teammates jumping him. Gobert was sent to the locker room after punching Kyle Anderson, his teammate, during a timeout. Anderson wasn't too happy with the way Gobert played, which is why he decided to criticize his teammate. However, the 7'1" big man escalated this into a physical confrontation, which is why the team decided to send him home. The confrontation continued in the locker room at halftime, but it was a verbal exchange that teammates helped calm down, not a group of players physically attacking Gobert. The February and March 2026 incidents were public callouts through the media, not physical altercations. The jumping was metaphorical in the sense that the reaction was swift. The coach publicly rebuked Gobert, and the team's play on the court did not improve immediately after his comments. But there was no report of any physical confrontation in the locker room in 2026. What there was, though, was a genuine problem. Not only have the Timberwolves been struggling on the floor at times, but they seem to be having issues behind the scenes too. We saw some of that internal frustration boil over when Rudy Gobert called out the coaching staff for their refusal to bench players who aren't giving full effort. The good news for the Timberwolves is that the team has shown it can still compete at the highest level when everyone is locked in. They did just that on March 1st in Denver, riding a dominant second quarter to a statement 117-108 win over the Nuggets on national TV. Anthony Edwards led the way with 21 points and 6 assists, but he was far from alone on a day where the Wolves' entire 8-man rotation contributed in a big way. Jaden McDaniels dropped 20 points and was a game-high plus 20. Julius Randle had 14 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists in a bounce-back effort. Rudy Gobert scooped up 15 rebounds. That was a game where the effort was there, the ball movement was there, and the result followed. This was, without question, one of the Wolves' best wins of the season, both due to the opponent and the way all 8 of their top guys came to play. This version of the Timberwolves is a legitimate NBA title contender. Minnesota swept its 3-game road trip to improve to 38-23 and jump into 4th in the Western Conference, beating Denver for the first time in 4 games this season. When this team decides to play with effort and share the ball, they are one of the best teams in the NBA. That was Gobert's point all along. The return of Kyle Anderson could be the stabilizing force this team needs. It's not easy to enter a locker room mid-season and take leadership reins, but the task is more palatable when the situation is so familiar. Anderson knows these faces, and they know, love, and respect his voice. Somewhere along the way, the Wolves lost their soul. Maybe Anderson, and his rare concoction of accountability, acumen, and attitude, can help them find it. For what ails these Timberwolves, Anderson may just be the antidote. Anderson himself spoke about the importance of being somewhere you are valued. I've seen that firsthand. Just playing for a few teams where I feel like they didn't see it, it sucks, Anderson said. I was with a lot of young guys in Utah and in Memphis, and they're like, oh, I could be in another situation. I'm like, the grass ain't always greener, so wherever you're loved, you gotta make the most out of it. Most people remember his altercation with Gobert during his first stint, but Anderson was known throughout the locker room as the guy who would be on everyone to be better and someone who held his teammates to sky-high standards. So what is the truth here? The truth is that Rudy Gobert has been one of the most vocal leaders in the Timberwolves organization. He has put his name on tough statements. He has called out effort. He has called out ball movement. He has been willing to include himself in the criticism. And yes, he has a history of letting his emotions go too far, as the 2023 punch of Kyle Anderson showed. But the idea that his teammates physically jumped him in the locker room, that is not what happened. What happened was a series of public callouts, a coaching staff that disagreed with how those callouts were handled, and a locker room that, according to the people who cover the team, had a genuine disconnect that needed to be fixed. The Timberwolves are still in the playoff picture. They are still a team with championship aspirations. And the moves they have made, bringing back Anderson, re-signing Conley, suggests that the front office agrees with Gobert on at least one thing. This team needed more leadership, more accountability, and more guys who are willing to pass the ball. Whether the locker room drama helps or hurts the Timberwolves in the long run is a question that will be answered in the playoffs. But one thing is for certain, Rudy Gobert is not going to stop talking. He has made that clear. And in Minnesota, where the walls of the locker room sometimes feel thin, that means the conversation is far from over.